can't mean that, Dad," I said, my voice quivering as I faced him across his enormous mahogany desk. My father reclined in his leather armchair, as composed as ever, exhaling slowly. "This isn't open for debate, Catherine," he stated, placing his cigar in the ashtray as if the discussion was concluded. My fists tightened at my sides, but I stood firm. "So that's final?" I asked, my tone sharp. "You'd rather pass it all to Grant, who couldn't care less, than let me show what I can do, just because I'm female?" He didn't waver. "The firm is Grant's to lead, Catherine," he said decisively. "You excelled in your studies, and you'll make an excellent wife someday, but this isn't your domain. My name is Catherine Mercer. I'm 26, a Harvard-trained attorney, and the daughter of Henry Mercer, owner of Mercer and Associates, one of Dallas's most influential law firms. My life has been dedicated to earning my place, topping debates, graduating with honors, all to follow my father's path. But in his office, surrounded by leather and cigar smoke, my foundation cracked. No matter my achievements, to him, I was only a daughter, meant to marry well and step aside. I met his eyes. "Grant doesn't care about the firm, Dad," I said, voice firmer. "He's impulsive, barely past community college, and knows nothing about managing a business. You know that." He sighed, rubbing his temple as if I were the unreasonable one. "Grant will figure it out. He's my son, Catherine. It's his rightful role to run Mercer and Associates. As for you," he paused, softening slightly, "you have other paths, a life free from the firm's pressures. I'm shielding you." A bitter laugh escaped. "Shielding me?" I shook my head. "You're holding me back. I've earned this, worked harder than anyone, including Grant, and you know it. But you won't give me a shot because you're too set in your beliefs to see my potential." His face hardened. I'd gone too far. "That's sufficient, Catherine," he snapped. "We're finished." I stormed out, my heels ringing on the marble floors of our family estate. My mother was in the parlor, arranging flowers in a vase. She glanced up as I passed, her face weary yet gentle. "Catherine," she said softly, "what happened?" I stopped, frustration and desperation mixing. "He won't let me join the firm," I said, voice breaking. "He's giving it all to Grant and expects me to accept it." She sighed, hands pausing. "Your father has his methods," she said hesitantly. "But perhaps it's wiser not to challenge him, dear. He has good intentions." I stared, stunned. "Good intentions?" I repeated. "He's discarding everything I've earned because I'm a woman. How can you defend that?" She looked down, her face marked by years of silent compliance. "I just don't want you hurt, Catherine," she said quietly. "Sometimes it's simpler to accept things as they are." Her words lingered, and I realized I was alone. That night, in bed, staring at the ceiling, my father's dismissal weighed heavily. I recalled the late nights studying law, Harvard debates, sacrifices to uphold the Mercer name, all for nothing. Told I didn't belong, my only worth to marry into power, my stomach churned. The next morning, halfway through packing, my bedroom door creaked open. My mother stood there, pale and puzzled. "Catherine, what are you doing?" she asked, worried. Before I could answer, my father appeared, brow furrowed. "What's this?" he demanded, entering. "Where do you think you're going?" Grant leaned in the doorway, robe-clad, smirking. "Packing for vacation, sis?" he asked casually. I snapped my suitcase shut, standing tall. "I'm leaving," I said plainly. "Since I'm not welcome at the firm and don't fit your plans, I'll find where I do." My father's face darkened. "Don't be absurd, Catherine," he said coldly. "This is your home. Where else would you go?" "To make a statement." I held his gaze. "Yes, Dad, to show I'm worth more than being sidelined for someone who hasn't earned anything." Grant chuckled, arms crossed. "You're overreacting, Cat. Throwing a fit because Dad won't hand you the firm's keys." His smugness ignited me. "This isn't a fit, Grant," I snapped. "It's me seizing my life, something you've never done, since everything's been given to you." My father raised a hand, silencing us. "Enough," he said sharply. "Catherine, you're not leaving. You belong with your family." I shook my head, grabbing my suitcase. "No, Dad. I belong where I'm valued, and that's not here." I passed them, suitcase rolling. My mother followed, voice quivering. "Catherine, please don't go," she said softly. "We can resolve this as a family." At the stairs, I turned. Mom, I love you, but I can't pretend things will change if I stay. They won't. My father watched from above, expression blank. Grant leaned on the banister, unmoved, as if my exit meant nothing. I opened the door, turning back. When you're ready to value me beyond marrying well, you know where I am, I said calmly. Then I stepped out, morning air fresh on my face, feeling free for the first time. I didn't look back. Days later, I landed an interview at Dallas's top law firm. They didn't care I was a Mercer, only my credentials and drive. Walking in, I was Catherine Mercer, Harvard grad, determined attorney, not Henry Mercer's daughter. By week's end, they offered me a role. For the first time, I felt I belonged for what I could do, not who I was. The work was demanding but fulfilling, thriving without constant comparison. My boss, Richard Hayes, a keen, forward-thinking man, mentored me, valuing my insight and pushing for more responsibility. Within months, I handled high-profile cases, earning colleagues' respect. It wasn't the life I'd envisioned, but it was mine, and that mattered. Professionally thriving, nights were tough. Cutting family ties hurt, despite justification. Quiet moments, like returning to an empty apartment, brought the weight. I missed my mother's quiet presence, despite her silence, and even Grant's chaos, infuriating as it was. But the deepest pain was knowing my father let me go without a second thought. Months passed, pouring all into work. Cases were intense, often keeping me late, but I excelled under pressure. Each win built confidence. I wasn't just a lawyer, I was formidable. Richard assigned high-stakes cases, and I gained a reputation as a rising star. Growth wasn't just professional, it was personal. I learned to decide independently, free from family expectations or pleasing my father. Every step proved I was more than they credited. One afternoon, Richard called me in. His office, spacious but modest, mirrored him. He gestured to sit, leaning back, blue eyes assessing. "Catherine," he said evenly, "I have a case you're ready for. High stakes, complex, spotlight bound." I nodded, intrigued. "What's the case?" I asked, leaning forward. He paused. "We're representing a client suing Mercer and Associates for contract negligence. Stakes are huge, and it's drawing attention." My stomach flipped. "You want me suing my father's firm?" I said, voice steadier than I felt. Richard nodded. "I know it's personal, but that's why you're perfect. You know Mercer's operations, and you're our sharpest lawyer. If anyone can win, it's you." I breathed deeply. "Richard, you know what this means for me, personally, professionally. This is my family." He leaned forward. "I get it, but this is your chance to show what you can do, to prove those who underestimated you wrong. Think, this could define your career." The offer weighed heavy. Taking it meant facing my father, the man who discarded my ambitions for Grant. It meant confronting the family legacy that opened doors but closed others. But it also meant proving I could stand alone. I sat back. "This is a lot," I said quietly. Richard nodded. "I'm not expecting an answer now. It's personal. Decide by tomorrow's end. We need to move fast, and I want you." That night, sleep evaded me. Taking the case meant battling my father, who dismissed me without hesitation. It meant facing fractured trust and old wounds. But staying meant thriving where I wasn't undervalued. For 2 days, I weighed risks and rewards, thinking of my father's cold rejection, my mother's resignation, Grant's entitlement. By day's end, I decided. I entered Richard's office, shoulders straight, voice firm. "I'll take the case." He grinned. "Knew you would. Let's get started." The first court session arrived, tension thick. Clutching my briefcase, heels clicking on polished floors, I entered with my client, confident in me. All I thought of was the inevitable. At the front, I saw them, my father and Grant at the opposing table. Their faces turned, shock hitting like a wave. My father's jaw clenched, eyes narrowing. Grant's mouth gaped before smirking, hiding unease. I set my briefcase down, meeting their stares. I wouldn't falter. I was here for work, and nothing, not their surprise, not disapproval, would derail me. My father's gaze softened briefly, but he composed himself, whispering to Grant. I ignored it, focused. As proceedings began, I slid into my role seamlessly. Every motion, argument, document precise. Tone calm, demeanor collected, I stayed on the case. When the judge spoke, I answered confidently, unshaken by my father or Grant's glances. I wasn't Catherine the daughter. I was Catherine Mercer, plaintiff's attorney, determined to win. When Grant stumbled, unprepared, I showed no triumph, treating him as any opponent, respectful but unrelenting. My father watched silently, expression blank, but I felt his eyes. It didn't matter. I wasn't here for approval. I was doing my job, excelling. After sessions, it was clear to my father and Grant I dominated. Grant's inexperience shone, my preparation leaving him scrambling. My father intervened once or twice, but couldn't save Grant's damage. The tide turned, everyone knowing it. By the fourth session, they proposed settlement. I saw my father's frustration as their counsel approached. After negotiations, we agreed on terms favoring my client. As papers signed, my father glanced over, defeated, perhaps regretful. Grant avoided my eyes, like a scolded child. I said nothing. My work was done. Usually, I'd linger post-session, wrapping up with my client, exchanging courtesies with opposing lawyers, a professional gesture, regardless of tension. But this time, no chance. My father and Grant had gathered their things, leaving without a glance, handshake, or acknowledgement, not even a curt, well done. It hurt more than expected. After all, I'd hoped for some recognition, a sign they saw my capability. Instead, they left silently, defeated, leaving unfinished business weighing on me. I breathed deeply, refocused on my client. I'd won, that mattered. That evening at the firm, colleagues applauded as I entered. Richard clapped my shoulder, grinning. "Well done, Catherine," he said, raising champagne. "You were flawless. That settlement's a huge win." The team celebrated in the break room with drinks and hors d'oeuvres. My client stopped by, shaking my hand. "You were incredible, Catherine. We couldn't have done it without you." For the first time that day, I smiled, surrounded by those who valued my skills and effort, feeling accomplishment no words from my father or Grant could match. This was my victory. Late that night, in my apartment, city lights filtering through blinds, I sat with wine, replaying courtroom moments, my father's tightening face with each argument, Grant's averted eyes. I'd expected anger or defense, but their silence hurt more. For years, I'd dreamed of my father's respect, proving I was worthy. Now, even winning against them, I wondered, did they see me, or was I just their failure's reminder? Questions lingered as I gazed at Dallas's skyline, unsure if severed ties could mend. The next morning, entering the office, phones rang and conversations buzzed. Before settling, Richard approached, curious. "Catherine," he said cautiously, "your father's here, waiting in your office." My stomach flipped. "My father?" I asked, neutral. Richard nodded. "Arrived 20 minutes ago. Wants to speak with you." "Take your time. I'll hold calls." Thoughts racing, I walked down the hall. Opening my office door, Henry Mercer sat across my desk, hands clasped. He looked up, expression unreadable, brow slightly furrowed, regret perhaps. "Catherine," he said simply, voice quieter than ever. I closed the door, cautious. "Dad, what are you doing here?" He stood slowly, smoothing his suit. "I came to talk," he said, measured but serious. "To say things I should have said sooner." I sat, arms folded. "All right, I'm listening." He glanced out the window, then back. "You were brilliant in court, Catherine," he began, softening. "I've seen top lawyers, but you, prepared, professional, relentless. No doubt you were better." His words surprised me, but I stayed steady, waiting. "I've believed legacy meant preserving tradition, sons succeeding fathers," he continued, regretful. "I thought pushing Grant was right, even knowing he wasn't ready." He ran a hand through silver hair, sighing. "But I was wrong. You've worked harder than anyone, Catherine, earning everything. I failed you." I blinked, unsure. This was the man who dismissed my ambitions, urging a life unfit for my dreams, now admitting error. "Why now?" I asked cautiously. "After everything?" "Because I saw what you're capable of," he said simply. "Grant's not ready, maybe never will be, but you've proven you can succeed and lead." He stepped closer, pleading. "Catherine, I'm asking you to return. Take your rightful place at Mercer and Associates. The firm needs you." "I need you." The words hung, a dream I chased, but now, unsure if I wanted it. What about Grant? I asked. What's his role? My father's face tightened, nodding. He'll stay, but in a role fitting his skills. This is about you, Catherine, giving you what you deserve. I breathed deeply. I need time to think, I said firmly. It's not a snap decision. A lot's happened. He nodded, serious but understanding. Of course. Take the time you need. I'm not expecting an answer now, I just had to speak. He turned to leave, pausing. Catherine, he said softly, I haven't said this enough, or ever, but I'm proud of you. In that courtroom, you were better than I ever was, better than I could have imagined. His words struck hard, and I stared unsure. He gave a small, hesitant smile, then left, leaving me with thoughts. At my desk, his words echoed. Better than I ever was. I'd fought for this, to prove I was more than his daughter, capable and deserving. Now, hearing it, pride surged. This wasn't just about him. I was proud of standing firm, thriving independently, showing the world and my father what I could do. Late at night, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I pondered. My father's offer was everything I'd worked for, the dream since childhood. But returning meant navigating old wounds, working with Grant, knowing his low regard. Staying offered growth, but not my legacy, not Mercer and Associates, the firm I'd envisioned leading. If I returned, I could shape it my way, proving the name was as much mine. I hadn't decided. The choice felt impossible, the wait sleepless. But maybe you can help. What would you do? Share in the comments. I'd love your perspective.